Reaching an advanced age often raises a significant question: is it better to be alone or share life with someone? Let me reveal a secret that is rarely mentioned in society: enjoying singleness in maturity could be the key to achieving true freedom and happiness. In this video, we will explore the myths surrounding relationships in the later stages of life, discover the unexpected advantages of being single, and how you can rethink the meaning of love and companionship in your life. I guarantee that by the end, you will have completely transformed your perspective on your future. If this resonates with you, give it a like, share it with someone who needs to hear this, and remember to subscribe for more life-changing perspectives. Let's uncover the truth together. Romantic love is the belief of those who cannot tolerate freedom. We were taught that sharing life with someone equals success, that a life without a partner is incomplete. However, just look around, and you'll see the lie. It's hard to believe there are still those who ignore that human beings came into the world free, live freely, and depart freely. Everything else is just fleeting events. The world is full of people trapped in relationships they don't want, pretending to be happy because admitting that they would be better off alone would be considered a social failure. Couples form out of impulse, habit, because it's always been that way. And the saddest part is that society applauds this emotional tragedy. Love, as it's presented to us, is nothing more than a trap dressed up in dreams. It doesn't set you free, it binds you. At first, everything seems intense, but when passion fades, all that remains is the emptiness of wear and tear and routine disguised as commitment. And for what? To avoid facing loneliness? What a high price to pay for not confronting yourself and realizing that, in the end, you are alone in this world. Everything starts with an attraction that has degenerated into an absurd farce, a parade of egos seeking attention, more ridiculous than witnessing two peacocks courting. Instead of seeking a genuine connection, we end up playing a social game where the winner is the one who lies best, who acts most convincingly, and who has the most perfect Instagram profile. And we call this romance. It's interesting how many relationships begin with disguised lies, pretending to be better than we really are, creating illusions from the start. And then we are surprised when everything collapses. What did you expect from a castle built on lies in which you've also played a part? If you think love will come later to fix everything, I have something to tell you: love doesn't solve anything, it complicates it even more. Romantic love, as you conceive it, is nothing more than a socially accepted form of ownership. You were taught that to love is to depend, that you cannot be happy without someone else. But if you depend on another to be happy, you're already on the wrong path. If these stories inspire you and encourage you to take action, we invite you to leave a comment with the number 9. If not, you can comment 0. Your opinion is very important to us. We really appreciate your time. The real problem isn't loneliness, but sharing your life with someone who makes you feel emptier than you would be alone. Because, over time, you realize you lose what you truly are. Many say you'll be happy when you find your other half. Another half? What a degrading concept. As if you came into the world lacking, incomplete, depending on someone else to feel whole. I'd rather stay without that half, thanks. Society pressures people to have a partner with the same intensity with which life insurance is marketed. And if you're not in a relationship, they look at you like you're strange, as if there's something wrong with you, a social failure. But what's irrational isn't being alone, what's irrational is seeking company out of fear of what others might think. Love has stopped being an option and turned into an imposed necessity. You don't love because you want to, you love because that's what you were taught. Genuine love doesn't come from the fear of loneliness, but from the ability to feel good with yourself. What keeps us trapped in empty relationships is the fear of being alone. I think that's clear. However, here's the paradox: many couples experience more loneliness within the relationship than outside of it, a loneliness that touches every aspect. Jean-Paul Sartre said, "If you feel lonely in your own company, it means you're not in good company." And so the mistake continues. Couples aren't formed by genuine desire, but because they fear loneliness. The relationship turns into an emotional dependence agreement, where control replaces affection. If you need to know the whereabouts of your partner constantly, you're not in a relationship, you're trapped in an emotional prison. Infidelity is a shadow that haunts every relationship, and it's not surprising. We live in a corrupted society where fidelity has become a rarity, not the rule. We spend our days checking phones, watching with suspicion, living with the constant feeling that we could be deceived. Isn't that an unbearable weight? What kind of bond can be maintained when all you worry about is that the other will get tired? If you feel the need to check your partner's phone, it's a sign that the relationship has already ended, but neither of you dares to admit it out loud. And do you know what's most frustrating? That, even if there's no cheating, you're still a prisoner of doubt, especially if your partner is attractive and very present on social media. The real problem isn't the infidelity itself. What complicates things is that infidelity seems almost inevitable. We live in a society where temptation is everywhere. Technology has made deceit easy and quick to achieve, yet we still try to practice monogamy as if we were in the Middle Ages, riding horses in search of damsels in need of rescue. If many relationships involve infidelities or have been affected by them, why do we continue to cling to the belief in infinite fidelity? Love based on mutual dominance is an illusion. Forced loyalty is a burden no one should bear. Sex, one of life's greatest pleasures, becomes a battlefield where desire is suppressed by the fear of breaking the agreement. But what kind of existence is that really? Nature makes it clear, animals do not limit themselves to one partner forever, and even if they do, they still enjoy others of their species. They surrender to sex, to joy, without fear that their freedom will lead them to condemnation. Humans are the only beings that transform the sexual act into a repetitive responsibility with the same partner, regardless of desire, and call it commitment. Sex should be a free experience, as natural as eating, one of life's simplest and most pleasurable pleasures, without regrets or limitations imposed by outdated social norms. Who decided that you can't live your way whenever you want? Having casual relationships, always with mutual consent, is simply following our essence. However, sexual freedom becomes an invisible danger that frightens those trapped in emotional prisons. If you indulge in pleasure without attachments, you're labeled a womanizer, or if you're a woman, you're given a much more humiliating and degrading term. The real lack of morality lies in pretending to be virtuous while planning to betray the person you're with. What stops you from living the way you want? It's the rules that not even those who proclaim them follow. Hypocritical people who talk about loyalty while imagining giving in to desire for any figure that catches their attention. From my perspective, I do not support rampant sexual behavior, as it often leads to obsession and eventually some form of emotional disorder. However, what is wrong with enjoying sex when you want it and feel it's the right thing? We often opt for restrictions because we've been taught that sex outside of a committed relationship is wrong. The imposition of fidelity as an obligation is perhaps one of the most absurd prisons ever created. Here lies a great contradiction. People condemn the sexual freedom of others while secretly yearning to break those same rules. Those who defend monogamy most fervently are often the ones who suppress their own impulses the most. Though they feel the weight of that cage, they resist leaving it. It's simple: imposing monogamy only creates conflicts, it doesn't foster love. Human desire is as inherent as the act of breathing, and denying it won't make it disappear. What you suppress ends up consuming you. If you don't believe it, think about the video where I mention this topic. If you choose to build a life with someone, do it for a shared purpose, not because you feel you need that person to feel complete or because you're willing to give up your life for them. Romantic feelings may fade, but sharing common interests can sustain a relationship when passion fades. The real problem isn't having a partner, but assuming that marriage is a duty because it's the norm. This belief turns out to be the ideal formula for an existence doomed to dissatisfaction. It's surprising that there are still those who trust that conforming to social expectations ensures emotional well-being. They are probably the same ones who believe that governments act with kindness and protect the rights of citizens. True freedom begins when you decide to stop participating in the game of relationships out of obligation. If this idea makes you uncomfortable, perhaps it's because, deep down, you know I'm right. It's often said that fidelity is the greatest proof of love, but what they don't mention is that, more than an act of love, it's an act of fear, the fear of losing that person, of them getting tired of you, or of them seeking elsewhere what they don't find with you. Today's love is nothing more than a choreography of fears disguised as commitment. How can we call something love if it needs to be constantly monitored? I've said this before, but I want to repeat it because it's so ingrained in our lives that we no longer even notice. We live in a state of suspicion, checking devices, decoding silences, manipulating conversations to influence the other, and using a variety of clever tactics to find some security. When distrust settles into a relationship, passion fades, and all that remains is routine, staying together out of habit or because of the mistake of having had a child. Love should not be a pact of possession, it should be based on mutual respect, where both understand that freedom is part of life, not a threat to the relationship. By recognizing that true satisfaction lies in freedom, relationships change. Not due to an excess of chaos, but because desire stops being a forbidden subject. However, this approach doesn't conform to social norms. Most people are so afraid of losing their partner that they choose to suffocate them. They think control ensures loyalty, but all it really does is breed resentment. The desire to receive constant love from a partner is something that eventually loses its relevance. This is because, when desire resurfaces, most people reject it or hide it. Thus, what could have been an honest and free relationship turns into a slowly cooked lie. Genuine love doesn't require restrictions. If you need to trap someone to keep them from leaving, it's a sign that they've already gone. The bird will return to the cage that remains open, not to the one that is locked. Before moving on, remember to like if you're enjoying the video, and subscribe to the channel for the best tips on how to attract abundance and prosperity into your life. Let's keep going. Being single is the irrefutable proof that you don't need approval to be yourself. In our culture, relationships are seen as the ideal because singlehood directly challenges the control system that maintains the world order. Someone who walks alone depends on no one, fears no failure, and most importantly, doesn't conform to established standards. That is the real danger, the freedom of not needing anyone else. We have been made to believe that loneliness is something we should avoid, as if living without a partner were an unachieved goal. However, singlehood is not neglect, it is a decision few dare to make. And those who judge this decision are, curiously, the same ones who drag unhappy lives within relationships they keep as a burden, without the courage to end them. Life as a couple should not be something common, it should be exceptional. The true nature of the human being is freedom. Animals continuously show us this. Wolves hunt in groups, but rest separately, lions gather, but mate and then go their separate ways without emotional ties. Only humans have transformed love into an eternal commitment that denies the fundamental truth, the freedom to live untethered. Emma Goldman put it clearly, the harshest form of slavery is when the slave becomes attached to their chains. We live this way, valuing our relationships because they provide us with a sense of security, even though deep down we are aware that this security is, in reality, the most comfortable prison ever created. The couple relationship functions as a net that catches us with promises of stability, but ends up becoming a source of emotional instability. What is most irrational is that singlehood is seen as something that must be resolved quickly, especially in the case of women, who face constant pressure to find a man as soon as possible, before, as they say, the train passes them by. When a person spends too much time alone, society looks at them with pity, as if they were a victim of a cruel fate, unwanted by anyone. What they fail to see is that the single person does not suffer, they watch from afar as others get entangled in relationships that have already expired. And sometimes, I must admit, I find it amusing to see how couples, trapped in resentments and responsibilities, criticize my lifestyle. The social pressure to be in a relationship doesn't come from love, but from the fear of what being single symbolizes. If someone can live their life without a partner, what justification remains for others? The single person is the living proof that love is not a necessity, and this is unacceptable to a society that idealizes romanticism. Being single does not represent the absence of love, it is an act of deep respect for oneself. Being alone is choosing not to surrender your freedom, not to share your time or your being for a momentary illusion. It is refusing to be part of the spectacle of seduction and possession, that endless game where everyone pretends indifference while competing for the other's attention. It is an almost schizophrenic experience, full of paranoia. Being single eliminates that illusion we've been talking about. There's no need to pretend or show anything to anyone. The single person doesn't seek to attract, they simply live. They don't compete, they just exist. Oscar Wilde put it emphatically, loving oneself is the start of an eternal romance. If a romantic relationship does not contribute to personal growth, then it's not love, but a burden. The relationship should be something that adds value, not an obligation. Singleness offers the freedom to have connections without ties, without emotional commitments, where enjoyment is shared without the need for control or ownership. Casual relationships, when they are sincere and mutual, represent an expansion of freedom, not a danger to it. They are the very essence of relationships, something that arises spontaneously. True singleness is a demonstration of absolute frankness and honesty with the world. It is the deliberate choice not to be carried away by illusions of unbreakable love. It is recognizing that it is possible to love without wanting to possess, to enjoy without committing, and to share without losing yourself in the process. Being single is not just a phase, it is a destiny, and its ultimate destination is freedom. It is a space few reach, as many divert themselves into relationships they never should have started. In the end, being single is not a condemnation or a failure, it is an opportunity to live fully, to know yourself better, and to find what truly fills you with happiness, free from external pressures and unrealistic expectations. Life is not about following social molds, it is about choosing your own path. And if that path means walking alone, let it be a journey full of freedom, personal development, and self-esteem. If any part of what we've discussed today resonated with you, I encourage you to reflect on your life and the decisions you make. Keep in mind, what matters is not being in a relationship or being single, but being true to what brings you fulfillment and serenity. If you liked this video, remember to give it a like, share it with someone who may benefit from this message, and subscribe to our channel for more thoughts like this. We appreciate your support and will see you in the next video. Do you think living to be 100 years old is a blessing? Reflect on this question as you hear the story of an elderly woman I'll tell you about. Grandma Smith, who has reached the age of 82, is going through another day filled with sighs. Since her late 60s, she has suffered from severe arthritis, which has made watching television increasingly difficult. Additionally, due to her poor hearing, she has to turn the volume up to the maximum, which has now become part of her routine. By the time she turned 80, her physical weakness became more apparent, and now she doesn't even have the strength to hold the remote control, which only adds to her distress. Finding new hobbies has also become challenging. Due to arthritis, leaving her home has become almost impossible, and although she would love to enjoy a tasty meal, there aren't many places that accept phone orders. Even when, with the help of a social worker, she tries a beef broth, her tongue has lost its agility due to age, so despite adding plenty of salt and pepper, the broth tastes completely bland, like water or salted water. Her memory is fading more and more, and she lacks the energy to move, making it difficult to find her mobile phone. Each day of her life becomes a constant battle against exhaustion and melancholy, so instead of enjoying a serene and fulfilling life in her final years, she feels that every day is a punishment. This is the sad reality of Grandma Smith, who lives in Seoul. How do you imagine your life in old age? Surely, regardless of your position or circumstances, everyone would wish to live an independent life, doing what they please until the end, in a free, healthy, and joyful way. No one, not even Grandma Smith, would want to spend their final years depending on others due to health problems that impose limitations, something that is clear. Unfortunately, the current situation is very different from what many expected. This is because not many people properly prepare to enjoy a full and healthy old age. Typically, when enjoying good health in their 50s or 60s, people tend to live without thinking too much about what lies ahead, and before they realize it, 5 or 10 years have passed. By the time they reach 80, aging appears as a surprise. From the age of 70, the physical changes related to age become more noticeable, and if no measures are taken to address them, both the body and the mind begin to deteriorate rapidly. The reduction in muscle mass, the deterioration of joints, the decline in cognitive ability, and the aging of nerve cells cause the senses to become less precise. Facing the real sensation of both physical and mental loss, old age turns into a nightmare filled with sadness and despair. This harsh reality explains why, for some people, living to be 100 is not a blessing, but a burden. Now, I want to ask you a question. Do you know what the ages of 20 for men and 23 for women represent? According to a report from the Insurance Development Institute, the average life expectancy in South Korea for the year 2024 is 86.3 years for men and 90.7 years for women. However, in addition to the general life expectancy, there is the concept of healthy life, which refers to the age when a person remains physically and mentally well and can lead an independent life. According to the most recent data from 2023, the average healthy life percentage is 65.6% for men and 67.2% for women. This means that, on average, men begin to lose their health at the age of 65, while women do so at 67. By the ages of 86 and 90, respectively, both must rely on others for care until their death. The ages of 20 for men and 23 for women that I mentioned earlier represent the period when health begins to deteriorate and death approaches. Of course, these are statistical data, so not everyone will follow this same path. In fact, there are individuals who, despite having passed through the stage of good health, continue to enjoy an active old age. These people may feel very satisfied to be in better physical condition than the average. However, In most cases, special health care is needed around the age of 60, and even more so in the 70s, due to the onset of chronic diseases. Statistics indicate that, although life expectancy continues to rise, the number of years lived in good health is decreasing. This means that, while people live longer, many face diseases and limitations that degrade their quality of life. A friend who works at a university hospital told me that, although we are entering an era where living to 100 is becoming more possible, he is unsure whether this period will be one of well-being or rather one of anguish, as those who do not take care of their health and experience accelerated aging at the end of their lives might face years of suffering. According to his observation, people in their 60s generally enjoy good health, but by the time they reach 75, they experience a significant loss of physical abilities. Although some people retire at 65, after about 10 years, they begin to feel too tired to do many activities. Most people who are over 75 abandon sports like golf due to lack of vitality. The only form of exercise older people can do is walking. As we age, health begins to decline significantly by the age of 70, and by the time we reach 80, it becomes uncertain whether we will enjoy another year of life. Therefore, reaching 100 is no easy task, and if we live much longer, our existence will be complicated. As a friend of mine mentioned, people who surpass 80 often face both physical and cognitive problems. Being aware of this reality, it may already be too late to do anything about it. Although the average life expectancy is approaching 100 years, we all aspire to live a long life, but above all, a healthy one, with a body and mind in full health, enjoying independence. For this reason, facing old age without preparation is a discouraging prospect. It is crucial to start preparing early, particularly to extend a healthy life and ensure a satisfying retirement. That's why today, I want to share 5 recommendations on how to prepare for aging, preferably in your 50s or 60s, or at least before reaching 70. If we start taking action now, we will certainly be able to enjoy a healthy and fulfilling old age. Before we continue, remember to like this video if you're enjoying it and subscribe to the channel for the best tips on how to attract abundance and prosperity into your life. Let's move on. It's common to hear that as we age, we should keep growing and challenging ourselves. However, this mindset often remains just words, as many people don't take action on it. Do you remember the last time you learned something completely new or tried something you had never done before? In our culture, education and learning are often associated with youth, and many believe that once school is over, learning should stop. This widespread thought leads people to even hesitate in starting simple activities like a hobby or exercise. This happens not only because the new may feel uncomfortable, but also due to the fear of making mistakes or failing. Because of our emotions, we avoid confronting situations that destabilize and confuse us. This happens because we try to escape uncomfortable or difficult moments. As a result, our minds focus mainly on successful and stable experiences, while drifting away from those linked to failure. This causes only the most active areas of our brain to receive stimuli, while others remain inactive, which accelerates brain aging. It's similar to how objects deteriorate when used excessively or left unused altogether. Brain specialists suggest that learning new things and engaging in unfamiliar activities helps prevent dementia in old age. By giving our brain proper stimulation through novel experiences, we strengthen our immune system, which significantly delays the onset of conditions like dementia or depression. Nevertheless, there are still those who are reluctant to step out of their comfort zones or learn something new, thinking it's too late due to their age or believing their mind is rusty. I want to share the story of an older person who deeply motivated me. This story can serve as a great source of inspiration for all of you. It's about a 98-year-old man named Lee Gun-ho, who, despite his advanced age, dedicates 5 hours daily to skiing every winter. This is impressive because at his age, many people would struggle even to walk, yet he enjoys a sport that requires balance and motor skills. What's most amazing is that he started skiing at 60. I had the opportunity to learn to ski when I was about 40, but I felt too old and worried about injuring myself, so I never tried. I thought that balance-demanding sports, like skiing, should be learned when you're young. Now, I feel a bit embarrassed for not having tried it. However, this 98-year-old man not only continues skiing, but he also plans to compete in a senior ski tournament in the US next year. Isn't that inspiring? It doesn't matter if it's not skiing, any activity that you are passionate about, whether it's a hobby, learning a language, or exercising, you should challenge yourself to try it. It doesn't matter if you don't succeed or if you give up halfway through, no one will criticize you. The key is to be willing to try without hesitation. So, I invite you to take on a challenge and try something new, no matter what stage of life you're in. Regarding money management, I'd like to talk about something crucial for our lives. Financial management should be a priority in your 70s and 80s. It's common for people to organize their lives well between their 30s and 60s, but they rarely consider what will happen after they turn 70. In the past, life expectancy was shorter, so we didn't think much about what would happen after we turned 80. However, today, life expectancy has increased, and many people continue to live with energy and well-being after 60. If we don't adequately prepare for this stage of our existence, the first things to be affected will be our health and financial situation. Health is a constant concern throughout life, but money becomes much more essential as we age. When we're young, if we lack money, we can work hard to earn it. However, when we reach old age, if we don't have resources, the consequences can be serious. Even if we want to keep working, our bodies no longer allow it, or there's simply no way to spend it. The children, whom we've dedicated so much effort to raising, are now absorbed in their own commitments. Money doesn't appear magically, unless you get lucky with the lottery, so unless something unexpected happens, it doesn't come without reason. Therefore, as we grow older, it's essential to prepare to cover our own financial needs. Don't delay until tomorrow what you can do today. From the moment you watch this video, make sure to prepare in advance. What you prepare now will generate reliable results and won't fail you when the time for retirement comes. Retirement planning is not just about saving money for daily expenses, but also about preparing in terms of health, recreational activities, and social relationships. Any retirement strategy involves uncertain and inevitable risks, but liquid savings, accumulated consistently and steadily, are what will truly support us. Therefore, as soon as you finish watching this video, create a budget for your retirement expenses based on your current lifestyle and start planning for your future. There are different perspectives on how much money is needed to maintain an adequate standard of living during retirement, with estimates ranging from 1.5 million to 3 million won per month for an individual, but these figures are only a general estimate. It is most appropriate for you to determine your own expenses based on your personal situation. It is essential to create a solid financial plan, such as joining the national insurance or investing in pension products or having income-generating properties. However, there is one key thing to remember when making these arrangements: do not be tempted to seek quick profits. Retirement investments, due to their nature, offer little room to recover losses, so it is crucial to avoid risky investments in real estate, stocks, or other unproven areas that may generate losses. It is important to choose safe investment options, with no risk of capital loss, to avoid facing economic difficulties in retirement. The 5 key aspects to consider before reaching 80 are: first, recognize that you cannot stop aging, but you can take care of your health to maintain a youthful appearance and a healthy body. Health is everything, and no one can argue with this truth. Taking care of our health is a responsibility for everyone, especially when preparing for retirement. In the past, the concept of anti-aging was very popular, but today we talk more about gradual aging, that is, preventing premature aging and maintaining a more gradual aging process. Sometimes, we encounter people of the same age who seem much younger or older than they actually are. Premature aging not only affects our appearance but also accelerates the onset of chronic diseases and the loss of physical abilities as we age. While some people in their 70s or 80s maintain the physical and mental energy of younger individuals, others, even in their 50s and 60s, end up in nursing homes due to premature aging. Therefore, preventing aging is essential and should start early. Western eating habits, physical inactivity, stress, lack of rest, and obesity are the main reasons behind accelerated aging. I solved it. I used to walk moderate distances to ensure that I naturally met the minimum daily exercise requirement, and when night fell, I would retire early to rest and be ready for the next day. This lifestyle was something inevitable and typical of that era. Today, however, it has become a conscious and essential practice for our health. Therefore, if you want to establish healthy habits that promote slower aging, do not overly rely on the pleasures and comforts of modern life. As we age, it can become somewhat uncomfortable, but it is essential to maintain a healthy diet and do exercises that benefit our physical well-being, even if that means making an extra effort. It is important to pay more attention to our daily habits. Additionally, to protect our mental health in old age, we must also protect the brain's cognitive function. Therefore, I suggest you follow the advice I gave earlier: learn new things or engage in unfamiliar activities to activate your mind. This kind of stimulation can help slow brain aging and prevent disorders such as Alzheimer's. Before reaching old age, there are 5 aspects that are important to understand and plan for. The 4th one is carefully choosing where you will live in your later years, based on what you love. Many people dream of moving to the countryside and they get older, and you might be one of them. Those who grew up in the countryside and later moved to the city for work often fantasize about returning to rural life once they reach maturity. In fact, many people, after participating in TV programs or becoming well-known figures in their community, have managed to fulfill their dream of moving to the countryside. However, while some adjust perfectly, others, due to lifestyle differences, end up returning to the city. In these cases, they discover that life in a rural area doesn't suit their personality. On the other hand, some elderly people think that living in a big city, close to hospitals and medical services, is a more convenient option. This is also influenced by individual preferences, so what works for some may not work for others. If you want to have a fulfilling old age, it's essential to first determine what type of living environment you would prefer. I know a 60-year-old woman who recently seemed worried when I saw her. When I listened to her, she told me that her parents, both nearing 90 years old, used to live in a house in the countryside. However, after speaking with her siblings, they decided to move them to an apartment near a hospital so that her father, who suffered from a chronic illness, could receive medical attention more easily. A couple of weeks later, when she visited her parents in the new apartment, she noticed that her father's health was deteriorating rapidly, even though his condition had not changed. Her mother, although unsure, suggested that her father's lack of outdoor activity could be affecting his well-being. While they lived in the countryside, he used to do daily tasks like taking care of the garden, which kept him active without needing extra exercise. However, after moving to the apartment, he started avoiding going outside due to the lack of activities and the constant noise from cars. After several weeks indoors, he, who used to be a calm person, became even more withdrawn and started showing signs of depression. The daughter, feeling guilty, is now looking for a new home in the countryside, convinced that rural life would be better for her parents' health. This story shows that the decision of where to live in old age directly impacts our physical and mental health, especially regarding emotional well-being. If you decide to move after retiring or when your children are already independent, it is crucial to choose your home based on criteria different from those you used when working. Instead of being guided by rumors or what others think, it's essential to understand your personality and preferences deeply. Are you more drawn to cities or the countryside? Do you feel more comfortable in an apartment, or do you prefer a house with a garden? Do you enjoy being part of a community, or do you prefer having your own space? The more you think about these aspects, the clearer you'll be about what you truly seek. Don't feel overwhelmed by these thoughts. Take the time to explore your preferences deeply to choose the type of home that best suits you in your later years. This kind of reflection will be key to a fulfilling and successful life in the years to come, and an excellent preparation for your future. The fifth and final suggestion is to change your perspective on aging and see it as a time when you are still young. Have you ever felt melancholic when looking at wrinkles or gray hair in the mirror? In those moments, the passage of time becomes more noticeable, and it can cause sadness. It's common to have pessimistic thoughts about aging, but recent research has revealed that adopting a negative attitude toward aging can adversely affect our physical health. A study conducted by Oregon State University found that people who focus continuously on their aging or consider themselves old tend to suffer greater physical decline. This type of negative thinking can lead to a more passive and dependent attitude, which also negatively impacts health. Many older people express statements like, "I've lived enough," or, "When I get old, I prefer to die," but even though these phrases may be said in jest, they can have a harmful effect on both the speaker and the listener. Psychologist Cho Seo-won from Gyeonggi University suggests that we focus on the accomplishments that come with the passage of time, rather than on what we no longer have. Aging doesn't just involve physical changes, it also brings many benefits, such as greater experience and less worry. What's essential is to view old age as a natural stage of life, embrace this process with serenity, and try to maintain a positive attitude. Only in this way can we age healthily and fully enjoy our relationships, values, and experiences in adulthood. Reflect on this, and if you understand its importance, focus on replicating that value. Accept the passage of time, and at the same time, become aware that you are now younger than ever while putting your core principles into practice. Your future will be even brighter than the youthful days filled with light that you've already experienced. Today, I want to share 5 aspects that you should know and prepare in advance for the future. The first is not to doubt or delay personal learning and self-improvement. The second is to ensure that you manage your retirement fund properly, establishing a stable source of income. The third is that, although aging cannot be stopped, we should strive to delay it as much as possible and maintain lasting physical youth. The fourth recommendation is to carefully select the place where you will live during retirement, based on your personal preferences. The fifth, is to adopt a new perspective on aging and consider yourself still young. We are approaching an era in which living to 100 will be common, and this future is not so distant. In 2024, the Korea Insurance Development Institute reported that, for the first time, the average life expectancy in the country exceeded 90 years. Life expectancy continues to increase each year, which will soon bring us an average life expectancy close to 100 years. I ask you the question again, do you really believe that the 100-year life is a blessing? Those who enjoy their life right now may consider that reaching 100 will be equally pleasant and full of happiness. However, those facing physical, mental, or financial difficulties might see a prolonged life to that age as unbearable. Of everything I've shared with you today, topics like health, money, housing, and learning are essential, but the most crucial factor is the attitude we have toward aging. If, starting at 50 or 60 years old, we adopt the idea that it's too late or that we are too old to do something, we won't try anything, and the process of aging, both physically and mentally, will accelerate even more quickly. After all, today is the youngest day you will have in your entire life. Unless we can travel back in time, this is the youngest moment we will experience, so it is crucial to change our mindset. With the belief that today is the best and youngest time to start something, go for it without hesitation and do everything you've always wanted to do. If you are able to fill the time you have left with this attitude, reaching 100 years will become one of the greatest blessings and accomplishments of your bright, full life. This concludes today's video. If you enjoyed what you saw, don't forget to subscribe and like. We appreciate you being with us for so long. We'll see you soon with even more valuable content. I support all our wise followers in living a happy and radiant life. Thank you.